Hello, darling. You want to be the camera guy? Yeah, I'll bet you right there. Yes, it's good. Oh, we had two of them. We had two of them. We always had two of them. We always said two. For Judy. And then Judy would have to wear it. Well, I got you. You're in what? I think you're That's Norma. That's her son. She was my best. They were probably quite nice. And Jimmy, that's her son.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Thank you, everybody.
I think we're just gonna kind of come together. So, folks, before we begin, before we do anything, first of all, my name is Fred Green, and I'm a rabbi at a congregation connected to your family, and first and foremost, I'm really sorry. Really sorry. This is a lovely big family. And there's something that we get to do before we begin a regular service. It's called Kriya. So the innermost circle around somebody who has died, we put on these ribbons. Once upon a time, we would tear our clothes, and in Jewish tradition, to wear one of these ribbons, it's for their children. So 5 of you are going to be receiving these, and when we lose our parent, we put it on the left side. So I'm going to help you with that, but it's hard to go through this. So I'm going to ask you to kind of, this is a family that loves each other, so kind of make a little bit of a circle and stand with each other and kind of hold each other up. If you have little ones and you need to sit, that's fine. But, have your people next to you, and let's surround this family a little bit so that we can do this, and then we'll start the service. First thing we do is take a breath, a lot of deep breaths. You'll have to forgive me for wearing my mask. I have some stuff coming up soon. When we put it on, we're going to say a blessing, and then we're going to tear it. And when we tear it, it does 2 things. One thing it does, it lets everybody know who sees us that what you see on the outside is how I'm feeling on the inside. So be gentle with me. That's one part. The other part in Jewish tradition is a more spiritual part. And it's that, and I believe this to be true in many ways, that when we tear these ribbons, we don't tear a piece off, because she's never going to be severed from you. You carry her with you. You have been for a long time already, and you'll continue to do so. And I believe that with all my heart, and I hope you can too. So we're going to give this to each of Rose's children. You can give your left. Holly? So Holly's going to put the Holly's in front of so she's reading with you. So I'll say these words, you can say it after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet. Praise you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, the one true judge. Now you can take it from the bottom and turn it upwards. If you need a little help, it's already a little started for you. Just perfect. Perfect. Tear it upwards. It doesn't need to be all the way. Okay? Yeah. And now a breath. This is a good time if you need to hug someone, you need to hold someone, you need to share a little love with someone. When you're ready, we can go to our seats.
Okay.
Okay? Okay. Ready for us to begin? So before we begin, we'll share for those that are following online and those who are here in the room. There's a few things that we share first before we move into our prayerful time. One is there will be 2 times to gather after this. Well, there's going to be a gathering immediately after the funeral. And there'll be 2 Shiva Minyanim, times to gather for a short service, because we say these services, we make them happen, a minyan. Because at the end of a minyan, we say Kaddish. And words of Kaddish, it's not about death or dying. It's about praising God's name, but we say it for those whom we've loved and lost. That's part of Jewish tradition and how we express our love. And it's important when we do that, that we're not alone, that we're surrounded by love. It's okay, I'm good. They're good, it's all good. So there'll be a minyan at 5 p.m. tonight, this evening, and Saturday, tomorrow, at 637 South Pontiac Way here in Denver. Also, a way of remembering our loved ones is making acts of tzedakah. Tzedakah isn't charity. Tzedakah is an act of righteousness, and it's an act of justice. And it tries to provide a little balance in a world that feels so often broken. And so the family has designated Walk With Me that provides emotional and financial help and support to families following the death of a child. We have information to share, and we can get that website to you if you have a hard time finding it. For those online, just need to find me at Congregation Har Hashem or one of your friends here, and we'll make sure that you receive that information. And so again, we take a breath. Forsaken our beloved Rose. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is sadness. In their tears, there is loneliness. As they feel lost in sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends and deep love from family. And we're going to ask to please God, hear them too, and be with them. For Rose's love that united us in life truly, and which death cannot ever sever. For her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought joy and happiness and inspiration and comfort. They are now all a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to the Holy One. But this is a time of grief, a time of sadness and loss. We know that's true. So in our tradition, we turn to the writer of Psalms. The writer of Psalms also knew hurt and loss and pain, and somehow was able to return to a place of strength, even with grief, but to a place of strength one day, knowing that God was close and that family was close. These Psalms tell us of our kinship with our Creator, and light is in darkness, and joy is in sorrow, and life is in death. Sinai El Harim is lifting up our eyes to the mountains, knowing that inspiration and comfort comes from God. Now, Psalm 15. Adonai yavur b'ohalecha v'yishkon b'har kodshecha. V'lech tamim ufal tzedek v'ver avet b'levahem. Adonai, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, speak the truth within their hearts. Do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them. Who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere the eternal one. Who give their word and come what may, do not retract. Do not exploit others, who never take bribes. Those who live in this way will never be shaken. Psalm 23. The gates of Tarok levanai shulchan, Tarok levanai shulchan, Tarok levanai shulchan, Negetzorah, Dishanta Hashem Roshi, Dishanta Hashem Roshi, Dishanta Hashem Roshi.
ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my soul. Guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence, though I walk through the valley of deepest darkness. I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of Adonai as long as I live. There's a reading that I was thinking of as we were gathering the other day. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in this pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their lives and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. We know that in the book of Job, the main person we encounter, Job, suffers tremendously. And he cries out after losses. He cries out, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, God has given, God has taken away, blessed be the name of the Holy One. We are an ancient people. We are well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. Yet the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave, and that there is strength and faith. With Job, we say, Adonai Natan, God, you have given. You gave us a loved one who will not be forgotten. For all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. Job also said, Adonai Lakach, God, you have taken away. But I actually think that Job is wrong. I don't believe that God takes. I believe that God receives with open arms and embraces our loved ones. So we pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust before which we acknowledge love and say, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach, blessed be the name of the Holy One, now and forever. I want to share something about one of our teachers of yesteryear. His name is the Baal Shem Tov. He was a great teacher in the 18th century. He was a mystic, of all places in Ukraine. He was a storyteller too. And he once taught that there are 3 ways to mourn. And I don't know if this always works, but I think it often works. And he says in these 3 ways to mourn, they are to cry, to be silent, and to sing. The Baal Shem Tov's advice encompasses the complete spectrum of a person's response to the world around us, and is in reality a mirror not only for the way to mourn, but as a way as well, a way for us to live. And he starts with saying to cry. Days following the death of one we loved are often filled with this sharp and intense grief. And the tears we shed are an outward sign of a profound sense of loss, emptiness, anguish that we feel deep within. But our tears, I would say, are also healthy tears, because in acknowledging that we're in pain, we've already begun a difficult journey toward healing. It doesn't mean that everything is fixed. It just means that we come closer to wholeness again. He also said that we can be silent, whether death comes abruptly or its approach is one that lasts an extended duration. We're often stunned at the sudden reality that we're never going to be in the same space with that loved one again. There are no words to express our regret for this change in the world. The loss is too great, so we're silent. Then the third, and that's to sing. Often the most difficult, but often as well as the most healing of all. It's to share with one another the stories we cherish about someone who has died. And through the tenderness of memory, we continue to love. We draw upon moments and memories, both those that were extraordinary, momentous, and therefore unforgettable, and those that were ordinary and unremarkable, yet to us, unforgettable. Unforgettable as well. We recall these moments, we sanctify them. We make them holy when we speak them to one another. Because in a shared remembering, we honor the one about whom we speak. We demonstrate our gratitude for having shared a bit of our lives with her. And we demonstrate our love, which death cannot and will not ever end. So I sat with some of this extraordinary family the other day. And as you opened up to talk about your mother and grandmother, what I heard is that you couldn't stop singing songs about them. That's what was happening. And there were tears, and there were moments of silence, but the songs, the stories, the lessons, the celebrations, the presents, they were all so extraordinary. So we decided it was this tight-knit family that would be doing the sharing, that would be sharing the songs. This family that Rose, David built up, will lift up memories and lessons and legacies as they remember Rose, speaking for those who knew her best and loved her most. So we're going to begin with a song, with a prayer. So Shayna's going to come forward. And then afterwards, Marion and Natalie, Mike and Barb are going to do some sharing. And then Leah is going to be doing some sharing. So, oh good, more support.
This prayer, this song asks for perfect peace, perfect rest. We were speaking yesterday, Shannon and I. This is the way of saying goodbye. This is a prayer, a song that's been passed, sung to you as you were babysat by Leah, and it's a special prayer, song of the family. And so it's a prayer of love and Shalom Rabbi Israel, Shalom Rabbi Israel, Shalom Rabbi Israel Shalom Rabbi Israel David has often said over the 43 years that he knew her, that when they made rose Goldstein, they broke the mold. She was the definition of unconditional love, never any strings attached. She taught me how to love myself and others, how to live with healthy values and morals, how to be a good and honest friend, how to raise Adam and Leah in an unconditionally loving home. My mother taught me to believe that there were no limits to what I could accomplish. She taught me this not only with her words, but with her actions. I watched her be all these things that I just described. She was my model for goodness and kindness, for love of self and others, because she showed us these qualities every day. My mother learned lessons about the value of having a close family early on. She spent a significant part of her childhood living in Coney Island on the same block as several aunts, uncles, and lots of cousins. She and her cousins grew up like siblings, and they remained close into their adult and elder years. Creating this environment was a gift given to them by their parents, which may give us some explanation of the tradition that my family so cherishes, that of Sunday dinners at my parents' house. For as long as we can remember, my siblings and I gathered most Sundays at their house, which in fact has given our children the opportunity and blessings of this generation of first cousins growing up together, seeming to be and seeing each other more like siblings than anything else. Over the years, I've had many remark that our family is unusual in our closeness. We all live in the Denver metro area, and I remember a time when Michael moved to California for about 2 years for work. This did not go over well. And we let him know that he needed to come back and soon, and he did. Aaron and Hannah moved away for 4 years of college, and here they are. They came back to us. This is our parents' doing. We give them credit for teaching us that family is the most important thing that we can and do depend on each other. I think of my mother often, and I miss her desperately. I choose to believe that she is with those she loves who came before her, that she is with my dad, and that she is with Kagan, and that she is now in peace. I know once wrapping her one around dad. Okay, I know she's with Kate and mom and dad right now, I'm not gonna run the arms around them. This morning, we are honoring and celebrating the beautiful life of my loving mother. She had so many wonderful qualities, and the one I loved the most was her unconditional love. And this quality has been passed on to me. My two beautiful daughters, and my siblings, cousins, granddaughter, everybody. I'm watching Maya. No, it's been passed on to everybody. And this is a quality all of us will have for life. And I feel like unconditional love is the most important quality you could have. Mom was the center of our lives and supported and encouraged us every single step of the way. A couple of favorite memories that I want to share about my mom. And they may seem small, but they last forever. Is family dinners when we were growing up every single night. And she was a wonderful, wonderful cook, which unfortunately I that was not passed down to me. Every afternoon when we came home from school, Mom had chocolate pudding cups in the refrigerator for an afternoon snack. And that tradition still lives on. I currently have my daughters when they were growing up, and I currently have them in the refrigerator right now, to be honest. This, when I was a teenager, and Dad refused to let me leave the house because my jeans were ripped, which was the style now then, and it still is come back and is style now. She supported me and snuck me out the front door. So I mean, she was just, she just supported me and my siblings and her grandchildren. Everyone was so interested in every single aspect of their lives. When our girls would come over in college, she wanted to know everything that's going on in their jobs. And she was just so loving. And as we became adults, we gathered every Sunday and holidays at my mom's and dad's house. When my dad passed away 22 years ago, this tradition still lives on, and we're talking about how we're going to keep that going now. All siblings, spouses, children, cousins, grandchildren gathered. And I know we all cherish Sundays at moms and dads. She devoted her life to her family, and love and kindness was part of everything that she did. I would like to end with a quote. I love this quote by Helen Keller. What we have once enjoyed deeply, we can never lose. All that we love deeply becomes part of us.
I too just wanted to share some memories of mom that were special to me, their personal memories. And, I go all the way back, as far as I can go back. I remember when I was really little, maybe 3 years old, I used to have nightmares and I couldn't fall asleep at night. And I remember that I could always go to my mom. My mom was always there to comfort me and help me fall asleep. And during that same time, I remember I had a birthday coming up, and my mom and dad got me a present that the toy that I had asked for that I really didn't want. My birthday came, and I felt really guilty when I got that present from them. And it sounds like nothing, but I really struggled with it. Said about it. And I remember going to mom and telling her how upset I was about that. A really strong memory an old memory that I really remember well was when I first day of kindergarten. And, mom walked me down High Street to kindergarten, and I was nervous and scared to go to kindergarten. I remember mom walking me into class, sitting down, making sure I was okay. And I remember looking, this is a balance, and I remember looking at that window saying, "Mom, making sure I'm I love to go grocery shopping with my mom. She would take me grocery shopping and let me get the cereal aisle, and I would look at cereal the whole time. She would let me pick out the best prize and take that cereal. Another really strong memory of my mom was the first time I saw her cry. It was when I was 11 years old when my brother passed away. And that day, it was really mom, so sad. Another memory that's really strong was back in high school. I had a really nice tight group of friends, and my friends all loved to come over to our house because mom would beat them. And she was so good to all of my friends, and they called our house Rose's Deli. So those are just a few. There's a memory I have that's the strongest memory that I'm going to carry, and it's a memory that's kind of recent with my kids. And when we go over to my mom's house, kids come in, grandma's sitting in the chair, and my kids come up and they say hello to grandma. She looks at them, and she's got this look on her face, and she has a conversation with them. It's like this magic, She always had a smile and make conversation, watching what they were doing. And it sounds like nothing, but it was everything. I always remember her. So I feel really lucky to have two parents like I did.
I am honored to have been able to care for our mother in the last years of her life. It was so important to her to be able to stay in her own home. My partner, Gary, who I could not have pulled it off of it, and I, with the support of our entire family, and most important, she was motivated and able to participate in her own care. Sad as the passing of our mother is to all of us, it gives great comfort that her time ended on her terms, in her own home, surrounded by her loving family. For that, we thank you, Mom.
They're comfortable. We have a lot of grandchildren. Okay, so I'm really honored to be up here for my cousins and my brother. And I'm going to just read in their own words what they said about grandma. So from Adam. And I put Adam first because his is the latest. I was worried that he's going like that. Next, my cousin, he's right. So I don't know where to begin. I've been alive for almost 40 years and been so blessed to have my grandmother here. Always here and available for every single day except for the last 4. I'm so proud of the family we are, and I know we all say it, but everything this family is, all of it, comes from the values that grandma and grandpa instilled upon their children, their grandchildren, and now even great-grandchildren. Grandma was soft-spoken, but so wise, kind, infinitely patient, fun, engaging, and just perfect in every way. When I say perfect, I really mean it. There aren't any imperfections to brush off or forget over time. She was what we strive to be. My most recent memories of grandma were talking to her about the struggles of being a parent, how I can barely handle 2 and just don't understand how she dealt with 5, especially my aunts and uncles. She had such a gentle way of validating my struggles while still shrugging off
that she raised 5. She's the rock that's always been there, and while she has moved on, she will live on in our memories and the never-ending stories that we will share with each other and our children. We love you so much, Grandma, and it feels so wrong to say that and not hear you say it back. I hear your voice in my head. Oh, I love you too. I won't ever forget how comforting that feels. We love you so much. From Erin. Grandma was the most loving and generous woman I have ever met. She poured her soul into her family, and we all felt the love tenfold. Grandma lived her life for her children, her grandchildren, and everybody that entered her home in her life. Whether it was 2-hour conversation sitting cross-legged in front of her chair or watching her favorite Netflix series of the week next to her, I have never met a woman, a mother, or a matriarch who genuinely cared and loved harder or more fiercely than Grandma. One night I came over and Grandma told me her story about how she met Grandma. It was filled with nostalgia, loyalty, and pure selflessness. The last memory I have with her is sitting with Grandma going through her wedding album. I was part of this memory, so I can. What was it, Sunday, Erin? Or Monday? It was Monday. And Grandma told us that she was an old maid at 23 when she got married. And Erin said she wrote it nicer, but I'm going to tell it how it actually was. Erin patted Grandma and said, "Oh, Grandma, that's the goal now." Grandma built something special, and I thank my lucky stars every day that I get to be a part of the legacy that she built. I strive to be the woman, the mother, and the leader that Grandma embodied. Hannah. To be loved by my grandmother was to feel a sense of belonging. It was to be embraced by kindness, compassion, and a feeling stronger than love. To be loved by my grandmother was to feel like you were home. We will always be the family that rearranges holidays so that they fit our schedules better. The family that raises a glass at every Passover Seder to David Goldstein and now to David and Rose. And we will always be the family that gathered every single Sunday to laugh, eat, disagree with love, and to love each other unconditionally. I grew up with Grandpa's stories, but it will always be Grandma's Sundays. This is gonna get me. We are who we are, and we will grow into who we will become because of my grandmother. The door, from generation to generation, is what she created. She will live on through her children, her children's children, and our children. Her memory will be in everything that we do, and I will always feel so lucky to have been loved by her. Dylan. When I was younger, I used to spend my day with Grandma while my mom was at work. I'd watch Family Feud with her, and she'd watch Animal Planet with me. In retrospect, I could probably trace my love of animal research back to watching those nature documentaries from her past. I could always count on Grandma to have a frozen dinner mac and cheese. She got Dylan the big one. And save for me and a little walking around money ready on my birthday. I was afraid Grandma would get to see me turn 20, but today I get to celebrate my 20th birthday with her as I say goodbye. Grandma lived a great life, and she leaves behind a legacy of those she loved and who loved her in return. I don't know what Grandma believed in, but I hope she has found peace and has been reunited with Grandma and whatever lies beyond. Together we mourn her passing, but let us also honor the amazing life that she lived. As Shel Silverstein said, there are no happy endings. Endings are the saddest part, so just give me a happy middle and a very happy start. David said she was so sweet and kind and nice to everyone. She was compassionate and I love her. All right, so we're only halfway through. Mine is just as long. Okay, so as my cousins and brother have expressed, and all of you are personally well aware, Grandma is one of a kind. Her selflessness, pure and unconditional love, her ability to make things better with an "oh dear," or a touch on my hand, or one of her laughs. I also have beautiful memories of Sunday dinners at Grandma's. How my parents never forced us to go, and yet every Sunday we chose to be there. Through high school, through college, we wouldn't miss those dinners because we didn't want to. And for the first 34 years of my life, minus my California stint, which I still saw her every few months, Grandma's home was as much of a home to me as my own. I played Barbies and hide and seek there. I watched cartoons, I cried over boys, studied for exams, took naps, ate way better food than what we had at my house. And I even started my period there. Sorry. She's too dying right now. The paneled walls, the green couches, the creepy basement that made for the most exciting treasure hunts. The hammock flips on the porch, the variety of gum on the kitchen table, the safety and the love. As we were talking with Rabbi Green a few days ago, it hit me that Grandma and Grandpa's house is the physical representation of my spirituality. That what others often seek in temple or church or religious institution, I got with my grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins on Sunday afternoon. And while you can't even hear yourself think over the laughs and the political talks and the 60 minutes blaring on TV, Grandma sat quietly in her chair and enjoys the craziness of it all. The laughter, the loudness, the chaos, the love. It doesn't get holier than that. I'm not a religious person, and it is comforting to think that there's some sort of after. That the people we love do not simply die, that the goodness in their souls continue on. And with Grandma, it already has long before she died on Tuesday. She has raised 3 strong daughters and 2 sons who let the strong daughters make all the decisions, which was so apparent this last week. And then who in turn raised 8 grandchildren and now a few great-grandchildren. We are already 3 generations of Rose Goldstein. And while there will never be another like her, we all have pieces of her within us and will to continue to pass the golden nuggets of her for generations to come. I will not talk about Grandma in the past tense because she isn't. She lit our lives from day one and will continue to. There was so much beauty for me in this past weekend. Touching her and kissing her and holding her for the first time in 2 years. Telling her how much we love her, and until the very end, having her smile and laugh and tell us how much she loved us. Talking to her knowing that her breaths were numbered, that it could be any second that her body would leave. The trauma around death that my family has experienced in the last year was so far from my grandmother's room this weekend. It was peaceful and quiet and holy. And if there is some type of after, my grandma is holding my sweet son so tight. She's rocking him as she rocked his siblings for hours in her baby room, singing him her silly sexist songs and moving his nose. She's telling him all about me because unlike anybody else on the other side, she knew all of me. And there is comfort for me in that. There is no better, safer, more loving place for him to be than in her arms. You are so loved, Grandma, and love does not die. I also just wanted to take a second to thank my Aunt Barb. Because what she said is so true, and her and Grandma and Gary in the later years were 3 peas in a pod. And we are forever grateful for you. For letting Grandma live her life the way that she was able to. And we will take care of you, Amar, just like I took care of her. So,
No, like, you reminded me of a Yiddish proverb that says that God can't be everywhere, so God created mothers. And I think we heard that from you. And that's so stirring for all of us. You know, when
There are times in Jewish tradition where we have Americans do grief so terrible. And in Jewish tradition, there are times over the course of the year where we say these prayers for Yizkor. And the prayer for a mother, when we refer to a mother who has passed away, it's Imi Morati, my mother, my teacher. That's the tradition. Imi Morati, my mother, my teacher. And we heard glorious things about a mother and grandmother and great-grandmother, but as she mothered, was a great teacher about life. I found that to be really powerful, and I heard being taught about being present and coming home and the power of family and putting my stuff aside and being there for others. All of this has been taught by a master, it seems to me. The most significant part of a child's education occurs not in the classroom, but at a home, in creating a home. And how this mother, this teacher, conveyed to children her fears and hopes, her defeats and aspirations, through the way that she handles all of the experiences of life. These are the hopes and values of what shape an outlook for our family, for generations that come after. So I learned another piece of Imi Morati, my mother, my teacher. For above all, Rose, her beloved David were models on how to create a home. So I'm going to say to you as we move to conclude this part is that the Baal Shem Tov was correct. There are indeed at least 3 ways to mourn. And through them all, through the tears, through the sadness, through words of memory, we honor those whom we've loved and lost. Rose lived a life of intelligence and helpfulness, generosity and love. Her absence is keenly felt by you who knew her and treasured her. And I know that your feelings of her being gone from this world run deep and strong. But also her legacy is pretty clear to this observer. It's through Rose and David, through children and children's children and great-grandchildren and generations to follow, that Rose leaves a family that is also intelligent, loving, caring, funny, honest, gentle, real, who live with integrity. And through them and all of those precious qualities, she will indeed live on. So I'm going to ask you to rise if you are able as we conclude this part with the prayer. El Malay Rachman, the one who is filled with compassion.
God, who is full of compassion, the eternal spirit of the universe, and perfect rest in your sheltering presence. Rafa, God, person that Esther, who has entered eternity. The God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May God be her inheritance. May she rest in peace.
And when that concludes our service here at Feldman Mortuary, we will be handing over to Natalie on the memorial plaque. For those of you who are not writing in Roman, I do have directions printed out in the foyer, as well as information about the reception, which already. I'll ask everyone to stay in their seats while I have the pallbearers in the back doors and Penny and I left from the casket. Mama.
She's regular.
Oh, yes.